It's war. A private battle blows wide open in public as the most powerful Republican in Washington says he's had enough, coming out swinging against members of his own party.
It's war. The Republican Civil War is back, and the media are lapping it up. After the House actually passed a bipartisan budget this week, John Boehner lashed out at conservative groups that opposed it. They fired back, along with such commentators as Glenn Beck. The press is now relishing this latest Beltway brawl. Joining us now, Julie Mason, host of The Press Pool on Sirius XM Radio, and Bob Cusack, managing editor of The Hill. Julie Mason, does this war of words between John Boehner and these conservative groups deserve all this media attention?
Yes, it does. We love a brawl. We love conflict. We savor it. We seize upon it. Ultimately, it does. I'm sorry to shock you, Howie. I'm sorry to shock you with that. It's a great story. I think the Democrats are heading for a feud, too, but this Republican Party brawl just gives and gives to the media. I'm not sure it's good for the party.
Now you have Glenn Beck calling Speaker Boehner a worthless Republican,
right.
And it's really escalated. So is it, obviously it is a story, but it is as big a story as the war metaphors the media using would have us believe?
I agree with you. I think it's a big thing because Boehner's never done this before. So, of course, the media loves the conflict.
Yeah, he looked mad.
He did look
his
mad.
Howard Beale moment.
And he doesn't, when we interviewed him, he said, listen, I don't do angry. He doesn't scream at people, and he doesn't. Now, I think some of it was planned. He was prepared to say this. But is he angry at them because they have won? They beat him before. Now he got a win over them.
Right. It seems to me we haven't had as much of the Republican infighting story since the government shutdown. Mm-hmm. And it also seems to me that we do have, two very different views here of how conservatives should conduct themselves. As Paul Ryan says, we have divided government. We've got to get things done. But going back to your first answer, you were relishing this, you were laughing. It seems to me that you're having maybe a little bit too much of a good time with this.
Are you judging me?
Yes.
Here's my counterintuitive take on this, Howie. I think that this is all going to benefit the Tea Party. This is bringing them back to their core mission, their core operative. They've gone off on tangents in the last couple of years we've seen on social issues.
But don't talk to me about the politics. Talk to me about whether or not the media are promoting this fight by constantly playing the sound bites. Are we relishing it?
Right, exactly, because everyone getting along and working together and compromising is good news for America, but it's not good news for the news media. I
see. So people actually doing their jobs is a snooze. Fighting is good. Now, of course, the Democrats are not exactly unified, particularly the botched Obamacare rollout. You had a number of Democrats criticizing the president, distancing themselves from the administration. So some people are saying, well, why isn't that as big a story? But they haven't used the kind of harsh rhetoric that we heard from John Boehner and people on the other side on the right.
Yeah, and I think the media is getting a little tired of the Obamacare story because the website is getting a little bit better.
Right.
And so there's not the conflict there that it used to be.
It's been 2 months now of stories about how horrible it is.
Exactly. So I think there's a little bit of healthcare fatigue going on. I think that's going to change come January 1 when Obamacare kicks in. But the media right now focusing on the conflict on the right.
This budget deal barely does anything. I mean, trims the sequester cuts modestly, slight reduction in deficit. So why has it gotten so much media praise when it's rather modest?
Because it's a shift in dynamic. There's been nothing for so long. Also, it seems like Boehner had to go through all those troubles to get a good deal out. And I feel reporters are rooting for a deal because
you set up my next question, which is, doesn't the press love any compromise that can be called bipartisan, even though both parties would admit they kind of ducked all the tough issues in order to get this deal and avoid the shutdown?
Yes, this is a very small deal. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it's new because both the president and Republicans in Congress haven't got anything done. So finally, there is some deal, even though it's tiny. Will people remember this deal in a year or 2 years? Absolutely not.
Maybe as a turning point, though.
Maybe as a turning point, exactly.
People remember this deal in 2 weeks.
I've already forgotten it.
What deal? Julie Mason, Bob Cusack, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.